Hello and welcome back to another episode of Respawn Radio with your host Paul
and Raphi.
And today we're talking about Thor. The 2011 Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
The boring one. Not the bad one.
Thor the boring Avenger.
Yeah. Thor the no charisma Avenger.
You know what? You couldn't be more wrong.
I could be.
No, he's got lots of charisma. Well, he's got...
Alright, so apart from when he's fighting and like kicking ass and laughing about it,
yeah,
like when he's actually just not doing anything else, he's literally like Idris Elba in this film, who again has got no charisma.
Yeah,
but I love Idris Elba.
Yeah, Heimdall in this one and Thor, they're kind of a bit... It's weird. So looking back on it, because there's been 3 movies worth of them, not even including Thor in like films like The Avengers, you've seen so much more character growth. But the way that they're held, and because these actors are just getting used to these characters.
Yeah, but look at Iron Man, like Tony Stark straight off the bat.
Yeah, but he's lightning in a bottle, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but then I'd say the same thing for the first Avenger as well, Captain America. Straight off the bat, great character.
Oh, I think Captain America as a character is way more boring than Thor. Thor's fun. He's funny sometimes as well.
Sometimes he's funny, but like a lot of the time, this film is forgettable. And do you know why it's forgettable?
Okay, why?
Because when the Avengers came out, I forgot Thor was a character in it. And when I watched the trailer for the Avengers, I had no idea who the blonde guy was in a cape.
Oh dear.
Because this film doesn't feature Thor, it features Thorless. He doesn't have any powers for like half the film.
That's true. Well, okay, so it starts off... So Thor... this whole movie is like an out of water... like so a fish out of water sort of movie, where it's... he's lost his... Like you said, he's lost his powers for the most of it.
Yeah.
But it does start off with... It has one of those where it's like... And then previously. So it starts off with a scene that sort of happens about 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
So it starts off with Jane Foster, who's the love interest, and Eric Selvig, the scientist, and her friend, who's like the comedy relief character, who's I forget her name.
Let's call her Bob.
So, yeah, anyway, it starts off, they're like researching electrical storms and shit, and then she's an astrologist. Anyway, she hit some guy with a car and it's Thor, and that's it. And then it decides to show you
how it got to there.
Yeah.
That bit is pointless
as starting right?
off, because you could start off in Asgard and not show that bit, and then you'd have the same film.
I thought that you enjoyed this movie. To be honest, looking back on it,
I remember liking it when I first watched it.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it like watching it back.
When you have a big long list of like 20 Marvel movies now, and you think Thor was a boring one, but it's more boring thinking about it than watching it. Like when you watch it, there are like little bits that you forget that are quite charming.
Yeah, no, it's got its charm and it's got its quirks, but like for the majority of it, I was just like, oh my god, can we just get to the bit where
So are we faced with another Iron Man 2 situation where it's like nothing happens really?
We're faced with an Iron Man 3 situation where for the most of it he doesn't have his Iron Man armor.
Oh, okay, that's true.
But at least in Iron Man 3, and I'm not saying Iron Man 3 is a good film or even better than Thor, it's not, but at least in Iron Man 3, like he's competent outside of the Iron Man, like he's still got his smarts. The charm.
Yeah, but Thor's not like he's not the same. He's not the same character in the slightest. So
well, the charm of Thor is that he's a man who doesn't understand the rules and customs of Earth, and he's acting as he would as an Asgardian.
Yeah.
So he's smashing glasses on the floor, demanding other drinks, or just being
going into pet shops and demanding horses.
Yeah,
saying, but we only have dogs. Well, give me one large enough to ride.
Exactly, stuff like that. That's where the charm comes in, but that can only take the film so far.
Yeah. What do you think of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, though? Like, is it one of these characters where it's like anyone could have done it?
In Thor, anyone could have been that character. He is completely interchangeable with anyone. In later films,
yeah, I was going to say
he is Thor. Like, he will always be Thor.
At this point, though.
At this point, he like any good-looking, incredibly muscly dude. Fucking Superman, what's his name? Henry Cavill could have played this character if they just gave him a blonde wig.
So in the introductory scene where Thor's from, he's like thousands of years old, so there's lots of history to go over. So they have this opening scene with the Asgardians fighting the frost giants from Jotunheim.
Yeah.
And the Asgardians look like the elves from the Lord of the Rings in their golden armor.
And the Frost Giants are the orcs. And
no, they look like what are they called? The White Walkers from Game of Thrones.
They do as well, don't they?
Yeah, they look like the Night King.
Yeah, so it starts off with a war, and it shows the backstory of how everything came to be.
Yeah, and there was like a peace treaty between Asgard and Odin and then Laufey, who's like the king of the Frost Giants.
And we see that how Odin lost his eye, which didn't.
Well, he's just there without an eye, and you assume he must have lost it in the fight.
No, you show him he gets punched in the face by one of the Frost Giants, or
does he?
Stabbed. Ironically, he didn't go for the other eye, so it's not an eye for an eye situation. It could have been.
How long did it take you to think of that shitty pun?
It doesn't now, actually.
You're a genius.
I know. I wish I would have thought of it while watching the film, though. Anyway, so
it sort of transitions from him giving you the backstory to he's actually talking to his children. Yeah. Like telling them the story.
Who, by the way, they look spot on. Like Chris Hemsworth.
The child actors. Yeah, they do look
Hiddleston.
Just like Tom Hiddleston.
Like they could be their children.
And even I don't usually like it when child actors talk because they usually cringe and can't act. But
hate children, yeah.
This kid who played as young Thor, and he was like, "I will smite them where they stand." And it's just like you can imagine Chris Hemsworth doing that line and with the same body language.
Yeah,
it was.
The children were good, completely underused. And then from there we skip straight to Thor.
Thor's coronation. Yeah, he's about to become. Well, this is where you first.
But Odin looks pissed off, like he doesn't want to.
Are you sure Anthony Hopkins just isn't bored?
He does look. Every film I've ever seen him, he just looks bored. He always does that weird smile thing. Have you noticed the Anthony Hopkins smile? Whenever he delivers any dialogue, he's kind of grinning at the same. Like
I've never noticed.
Watch any film with him now.
Okay.
Anyway, so
this is the first time we see Thor properly as an adult. If you're counting, when he gets hit by a car. Do you even see him in the beginning when he gets hit by a car? I think you do. He's lying.
You briefly see him, yeah, but he doesn't exactly stand up. So he's walking through and he's like cheering himself on, and everyone else is cheering himself on.
He's like totally full of himself.
Yeah,
and this is the only time, not including the helmet that he wears in the fight with Hulk in Thor 3, is the only time he's wearing the Thor helmet with the wings on.
That helmet's just like for the fans to say it's in it, but like
that's why I think
he objectively looks better without it.
I still liked it. I like the design. I like the
art
armor.
Style is very good. Whoever worked on that was like on top of the game.
It is really good in terms of like how Asgard looks as a city, and I never understood Asgard like in general though, because it's like kind of weird. It's not a planet, but it's another world. It's like a flat Earth, but then they introduce it upside down and then turn upside down and go through clouds like it's almost in its own.
Yeah, I don't get why they did that.
Pocket dimension or something like.
Well, it is. It's meant to be in its own sort of universe. It's like the realm of the gods. Anyway, so he's getting his coronation, and as Odin's about to say, as soon as he's about to just say the word king, there's a frost giant attack, and Odin like interrupts himself.
Yeah, he has his spider senses goes off.
I reckon he would have just said frost giant even if there wasn't one, and just pretended, because he looked like he wasn't going to do it anyway. Like he was like, I now pronounce you the new.
Finally, an attack!
An attack! It's like, fucking hell. And you can see Thor there with his face like, come on, hurry up. They're very quickly wiped out by a massive robot who comes from nothing and then goes back to nothing.
Oh, the Destroyer.
Yeah, he just destroys...
Like he's kept in a cabinet or something.
Yeah, he is. It's like...
There's a treasure room which they start off in, and it's kind of breezed over what it's called, but it's like a box, like a blue box. It's called the casket of like the ancient winters or something. They don't say that in the movie.
During the war from the first scene.
Yeah, basically Odin takes that from them.
No idea why. He just takes it.
Yeah, he just takes it and he puts it in his treasure room. And I don't think they call it the casket of ancient winters in the film, but I find that on the wiki. They refer to it as the casket. When the ice giants come in, they look to steal that, and then they get stopped.
Well, I assume that somehow gets their land back to the former glory, or maybe it's like it houses their power.
Yeah, as far as we know, all it can do is freeze things.
Yeah, and so I don't know at this point, but I assume that's what it was. And then Thor and Odin have a massive argument about what they should do. Thor wants to go and kick ass. Yeah. In Jotunheim.
He's like, oh, they breached our peace treaty doing this shit.
And Odin's like, no, 2 people came in. Like, it's barely, like, 2 people don't.
And if you go there, you're going to cause fucking ruckus and a war, possibly, and shit.
Yeah.
Totally just arrogant and just sort of...
But that's Thor's character. Like, he only cares about war. Anyway, so they have a massive argument over what they should do. And Odin's like, no, don't go. And Thor naturally decides to go because you got to do something. You got to push the film forward. If he just said, all right, then that would have been the end of it.
Thor and his clan, his gaggle of idiots, his friends.
His merry men.
Exactly, yeah. So you got... What do they call it? They actually make a joke about it in the movie. They call it Xena Warrior Princess, Jackie Chan and Robin Hood. And the only one they don't mention is the one that looks like Gimli.
Yeah, they were really racist about that.
What, because they called him Jackie Chan?
Yeah, he's just some Asian bloke. And this is a...
Yeah, but that's just some white woman that
there's a police officer doing that as well, so I found that ironic. Later on in the film, his friends come to find him, and that's the description that the police officers give these 3 people walking through town, and it's like...
I don't know, man. I thought it was funny.
It was funny, but it was like racist as fuck. Anyway, so...
How was it racist as fuck?
You can't just go around calling Asian people Jackie Chan because they're Asian.
Yeah, I suppose it is kind of... I don't know. It didn't strike an offensive bell with me. Not many things do.
I just chuckled at it. So anyway, back to the plot. He's in a room with his brother Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Who, well, if you've never seen any of the Marvel films, you're going to really get to know him over the next 20 years. Literally. And who else is with? So
the Lady Sif and Warriors 3, but I just call them the Warriors 4 because she's a warrior as well. So
yeah, so you got Lady Sif.
So they used what's known as the Bifrost to get to Jotunheim, the ice giant's planet.
Yeah, which is kind of like just a teleportation device.
Yeah, it's like a giant testicle, a giant golden ball at the end of a rainbow
it's a cannon,
bridge.
Isn't it? It is a cannon.
Yeah.
Because it literally shoots people out of it.
It shoots giant space portals that look like... Have you ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
You know when Tim Allen gets launched across space? Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of. Anyway, they get there and Thor's immediately like kicking off.
Yeah,
and he's just like, how the fuck did you get in and all this bullshit? And Laufey's just like, you've got like 2-faced bastards in your kingdom and you know it. And he's just like, don't talk ill of my people.
I don't get why Loki went, to be fair.
Well, they got to keep you in suspense because plot twist, Loki's behind it all.
Yeah, Loki...
The god of mischief. Who would have known?
Loki's the one who basically allowed the Frost Giants in the first place.
But he only did it to fuck with Thor's coronation day. He didn't have any other ulterior motive, really. He wasn't trying to be evil. He didn't like Thor, didn't think he'd be a good king, which is fair enough. He wouldn't have made a good king.
You know what? Loki is the hero of this story.
Initially, anyway.
And then he just goes off on one later.
Yeah. So Laufey's just like, you run home, little princess, to Thor, and Thor's just like, oh.
And Loki's just like, oh, for God's sake, I nearly had him. I nearly got out of there.
It's weird because like Loki seemed like quite in a hurry to get out of there, and you would have thought, but isn't this part of like, isn't this what you wanted? Why?
Well, no, because what happened is, I think Loki, he was just playing like, because Loki in Norse mythology isn't evil. He's the god of mischief and tricks. So all he does is just play practical jokes on everyone.
Before they leave, they're all sitting down in that room, and Loki's going, the only way you're gonna get there is by defying Father. And then he turns to Thor, and Thor's like, right, I'm going. And he goes, oh no, Thor, you can't go. Like, he's putting ideas in Thor's head. Like, he wants this to happen. So I don't understand why that once they're there, he's the one that wants to leave first.
I don't know. I don't think it was. I reckon he genuinely didn't want to go. Because at this point, I don't think he's actually evil. He becomes evil when he realises that his whole life is a lie.
He's actually a secret ice giant
that
Odin found during that first war at the beginning.
Straight up kidnapped a baby.
So why is he not massive? Well, he's the runt of the litter, basically. He's a very small...
Giant,
yeah.
Would he be a dwarf?
No. Well, he might be a midget.
Yeah, he's a midget, basically.
He's a nice midget.
Yeah.
That's funnier than it should be. Oh, Christ.
So they're there, and Thor instantly just starts destroying everyone, and he's fucking loving it.
Yeah, he's got the hammer Mjolnir, and he's like full on.
See, this
like
is what
you
I
get
mean
to see it in action.
You get to see his charisma. So the only time he shows any charisma, because he's sort of laughing maniacally when he's just absolutely decimating that giant.
Yeah, he gets like whopped in the face, and he's like happy about it. Like he loves the feeling of a fight.
Yeah, which is in keeping.
You know what I didn't like about the scene though? It was too dark.
I noticed that.
It was lit awful. Like
I couldn't see half the things were going on.
That scene at the beginning of the film, it's like these early films.
Just on that scene, I mean, some of it looked great, just magical.
Maybe I don't know whether it's. I don't want to like make excuses and say, oh, it's meant to be a dark planet.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I just think they didn't include any light anywhere.
I mean, it was minimal. It's kind of hard to see what was going on. Anyway, so Thor summons lightning with his hammer. Completely just smashes up the place. Like, he completely fucks up their. Like, he makes the floor cave in and everything.
Yeah, he destroys like half of it.
Odin comes in via the Bifrost, and he's just like, ignore Thor, he's just a little brat, and Laufey is just like, it's gone too far, really.
Yeah, you've invaded and you killed quite a bit of people. Like,
yeah. And during this fight as well, Loki realizes there's something up with him. Like, he doesn't realize he's an ice giant yet. That comes in later, but some ice giant touches him, and he turns blue.
And he's like, the fuck with that? And then he starts piecing it together that he's not a giant.
Because he goes into the treasure room later on, picks up the casket, and his whole body's blue.
Yeah, and he's got the red eyes. He looks like an ice giant.
And they get back to the Bifrost.
And Thor and Odin are again having another argument.
Yeah, like Thor's like proper getting in his dad's face. He's just like, you're a fool and an old man, and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
You're not my real dad. Just shit like that. And
no, that's what Loki says later on.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, my real dad.
You're not my real dad.
Well, no, he's like proper getting in his face, and he's just like, you're banished.
Like, yeah, he flat out is like, you don't deserve your powers, and you dyed your eyebrows for some reason. So he just
that's
like...
true. Why has he got dyed eyebrows?
I don't know. In every subsequent film, he doesn't have beard.
It's really weird.
And his beard as well. Like, later films, his beard is brown, his eyebrows are brown, his hair is blonde, because it would be, but... Like,
but his hair, him and Steve Rogers, their hair just gets progressively sort of browner and browner. There are some scenes where you don't notice it, but some where it's really prominent that it's just been freshly dyed. But the character was always blonde, but I reckon the actor is.
Yeah. No, I think the actor's blonde, but not that.
Not peroxide.
So then later on, like, they just started lessening the hair.
Anyway, so Thor gets banished and he gets sent to Midgard, also known as Earth.
Yeah.
One of the 9 realms. Anyway,
and now we're back to the start.
Back to where we started. So we could have just we didn't have any more introduction to Jane Foster. So that scene at the beginning, like you said, literally was pointless.
It doesn't add anything. We don't need to know why Thor is powerless because we've not met Thor yet.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have done that at the start of like Thor 2, for example, and Thor 2 was about him losing his powers, you'd be like, wait, why hasn't Thor got his powers? What the fuck's going on?
Because you already know him, yeah.
Yeah, but like, no fucking idea who he is. Anyway, so I mean,
she lands and immediately gets hit by the car.
Yeah, it's like she instantly hits him. He gets up and he's fine, and he's like, "Father!" screaming into the sky, and they're like, "Okay, maybe he's not."
Where's my hammer?
He's like, "Hammer!" He's like, "We know you're hammered." He's like, "Why have you forsaken me?" And they're like, "Oh, this guy is not well."
So
they take him to hospital. Like,
he gets tasered. Nipple clamp tasers sent right to his. You know, he's the god of thunder, and he can't take a little bit of electricity.
It's the same thing happened in Ragnarok as well.
Yeah,
he landed,
but he had his powers then as well.
Yeah, so
maybe I think lightning is just his weakness.
No, I played Pokemon. It's not. It's not Pokemon. If you're using Pokemon logic, lightning against lightning, it's not effective.
The rock paper Pokemon logic.
Exactly. So he's knocked unconscious via tasing, which I find
and then
hilarious.
He's taken to the hospital where he immediately is just like, "How dare you touch the son of Odin?" And he's like proper smashed out. And this doctor's got balls.
Yeah.
One of them just like jumps on him and he's like trying to wrestle him.
This guy is massive. He's like easily like 6'4" or something, and he's like throwing about people. And one like doctor just jumps on his back.
Like, he's like the bravest doctor ever.
He deserves a freaking medal.
Anyway, they stick him with the needle and he gets knocked out again. Smooshes his face up against the window.
Face plants into the door. And then he wakes up again. Jane Foster and her merry men of people.
Eric Selvig and Darcy. That's the girl. Sweet. I remember her name now.
They decide to go and get Thor from the hospital because he's proof of some electrical storm that they've been working on, because he basically arrived exactly where the storm kicked off.
Yeah.
So she thinks there's some connection there. So they go to the hospital to try and find him, and he's already escaped, so they don't know what to do. So they go back to their car, and Jane Foster's about to drive off and fucking hits him again. He just walks straight in front of the car, just haphazardly.
This is a theme. There's like Thor getting hit by things and zapped by things and just getting his ass kicked in like one fell swoop.
Jane Foster sort of helps him to the feet, and he agrees to go along with them.
Yeah, and I think this is the point where they introduce his hammer. So his hammer is landed somewhere, like in some crater. Well, it's caused a crater because it's a fucking hammer that fell from the sky.
Desert place, in wherever the fuck they are.
A bunch of people are there trying to lift it, and obviously they can't lift it because Odin said to the hammer, after he cast him out, he said that, the one who is worthy shall be able to lift the hammer, and chuck that out as well.
Yeah.
So it landed. People are trying to lift it. It's like Excalibur.
Yeah, no one can lift it.
You can't pull it out from the thing. What I don't understand is that it's in a crater, but then there's like a pile of mud underneath it.
Yeah, that
it's sat on.
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
Well, shouldn't they just if they cut the mud out from underneath and lifted the mud up, would you be able to? It's a
tough question to ask.
It's weird, isn't it? And there's bits where it's like raining, and you would have thought that the mud would just crumble away anyway, but it doesn't. It's a movie.
Yeah, and then Agent Coulson shows up.
Your favourite guy.
And he just brights up the entire room with all of his tremendous acting, which doesn't exist. And basically, he makes a phone call, going I don't even know what he says, to be fair.
It's something like, we found something, come check it out. Like, it's a hammer. It's a fucking hammer in a... why is there anything special about it?
Because no one can lift it.
All right, you don't need to make me look like a prick.
I mean, I don't need to make you look like a prick.
So Coulson makes a call, and then it flips back to, there's a bit with Loki. So I mentioned this earlier. He picks up the casket, turns blue. Odin comes in, explains to him, blah, blah, blah. And then Loki just yells at him, so much to the point that he has a coma.
And I got really confused when I first watched this, because I was just like, why is he lying on the floor?
He looked like he was having a heart attack.
Yeah, I thought he was having a heart attack, and then
it's do gods have heart attacks?
I don't know. And then Loki's just kind of standing over him while he's dying, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with him?
He's fueled by daddy issues. That's his character.
If he was a woman, he'd turn into a stripper.
But the thing is, he's got the nicest parents ever. They're just we didn't tell you this shit because we didn't want you to feel different. We love you like our son. It makes no difference either way. And he's still all butthurt about it.
I don't know why he is, because his life is no different.
They don't treat him badly. It's not like they're evil stepbrothers or something.
Literally, the only motivation that Loki had in the beginning of the film was that he's just a bit of a trickster and he likes to play jokes. But his jokes can be a little bit malicious or a little bit...
Which we find out in the other films where they have they talk about the one with the snake and the knife. And
but
he's a bit of a shit.
Okay, so he throws a hissy fit, and Odin basically just faints from whatever. And we find out later that it's what's known as the Odin sleep. In the Marvel comics, Odin basically has this power called, the Odin power. And after you use the Odin power, he goes into an Odin sleep. And then after the Odin sleep, he needs an Odin shower and maybe brush his teeth with the Odin toothbrush. It's actually a running theme, because whenever he talks to Thor, it was really weird. Because in Thor's coronation, and he's like, Thor, Odin's son. And I'm like, did you just call him Thor, Odin's son? Is that his last name? Odin's son?
Yeah, I think their surnames are just their dad's name with son written on it. Yeah, but at the end of the movie, he bumps into Agent Coulson, and he says, son of Cole.
Does he?
Coulson. Yeah, that's what he calls him. It's like you missed...
maybe, but I don't know.
I found that funny, but I think it went over your head.
Maybe. I was so weird. I was like, why don't you just call him Thor, my son?
He does sometimes. It's more like a title.
So Odin goes into the Odin nap, and he needs to restore his Odin
And then
powers.
He wakes up and has an Odin wank.
Yeah, he gets an Odin wood.
Okay, so back on Earth, right? This is one of my favourite scenes in the film. Thor's he's in a cafe with Jane, because obviously they just hit her with a car at a hospital. So they take her and they're having some food, and he's drinking this, I don't know, it's like
coffee or something?
Or some beverage. And he just smashes the cup on the floor and he's like, another!
And Jane's like, you can't do that. You need to ask politely. He's like, I meant no disrespect. And it's like...
I love it. He's so barbaric and primitive.
Well, that's what he is. He's acting like...
He's not nervous about being in another world at all. He just does him and doesn't give a shit about how anyone reacts.
Anyone else.
What's weird to me is that he's clearly been to Earth before.
Has he?
Because he's been to Norway, and that's how the Norse mythology got, written and whatnot. So he's been to Earth at least 1,300 years ago. Yet when he gets there, he acts like he's never been. Although then again, when he did go, they were more primitive, which is probably more reflective of his own society.
Yeah, maybe.
Thor hears in the cafe that his hammer's been found, so he goes to find it. Right after he disappears, Coulson and his team of men in black turn up, and they steal all of their science equipment, all of
their
Jane
research
Foster's.
and everything, because at this point they've locked onto the hammer being some mystical thing.
Yeah.
Because it's given off like a massive amount of like electromagnetic whatever shit. Anything supernatural. Really.
Anything that could be used for the Avengers Initiative, they want to keep to themselves.
Yeah, they
like
don't
some
want...
oligarchy, and it's kind of like
they're the faceless government body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're the douchebag government in this movie. Anyway, they take their stuff, and then there's like a little back and forth between Selvig and Jane, and I'm pretty sure that they reference either Bruce Banner or Betty Ross, because he talks about having known a scientist previously who was like an expert in gamma.
Yeah, and the government came and took all of his research, and
they never saw him again. But they don't say him or her, so you don't know.
I reckon it was Bruce, because the government came and he disappeared because he went to Brazil, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's not been heard from since.
Okay, that makes more sense.
All right, so back in Asgard, obviously Odin is sleeping in his Odin bed, and
this is brilliant. I'm never going to get tired of this Odin everything.
And Loki assumes control. He sets himself. I don't know how, because he wasn't coordinated.
Well, because
I guess he's like the next of kin.
Well, the mother would be next, but she's sitting with Odin. She won't leave his side.
So
he's assumed
he just
control.
assumes control, and everyone just goes along with it. He chastises Idris Elba.
Heimdall,
yeah.
The All-Seer who guards the Bifrost.
Basically tells him to not let anyone do anything, and only he's allowed to use the Bifrost, and he keeps on going to Jotunheim without telling him what he's doing, and he tells the warriors for
not to even think about going and finding Thor, and telling him that Odin's gone into this Odin nap.
He's setting himself up to basically start a coup, essentially, using the ice giants.
Yeah, so he's going to tell the ice giants, you can come in and kill Odin.
And the ice giant's like, why would you do this? And he's like, I want to be king. He's like, if when I'm king, you can have your cradle back and
casket.
They were like, and he was like, you can return your whole world to its former glory, whatever that was.
Yeah, so he makes a little deal with
Which is why I think why he took it, because for whatever reason it holds the power of the ice giants, I reckon. I don't even know what that thing is. Is it one of the
I don't know.
Is it one of the gems?
No, it's not an Infinity Stone. I thought it was at first. I thought that's what they were insinuating.
Because at the end of the film, it shows a Tesseract.
The Tesseract was already on Earth, though. We'll talk about this a lot more in the next movie, but it's been on Earth since World War II. So it's definitely not the same thing. It's not the Tesseract. It's the casket of the ancient winters. It's a different thing.
All right, so they've got a thing.
It's another blue cube.
So we're now establishing what Loki's plan is. So we head back to Earth.
And Thor is like on the war path to get his hammer back.
But he meets up with Jane first, because they've stolen all their research. Mm-hmm. And they just happen across him because...
Did they run over him again? I can't remember how they find him again.
He goes into a pet shop and he's like...
Oh yeah, that's the bit,
I want a horse. And he's like, we don't sell horses. What do you sell? Dogs, cats, birds. And he's like...
Give me my bird.
Give me my bird. What is this fucking thing with birds? And then,
he give me one large enough to ride. That's my it's brilliant.
Yeah, and then Jane Foster just happens to drive past him. Were they looking for him?
It's a small town. It's some small town in New Mexico in the middle of a desert. I mean, I guess
you could, but it's still.
Let's just assume that it's basically a modern day Western town,
right? Exactly. Yeah,
with taverns and saloons, and
it's literally it's got no roads going in or out of it. She's like, they've stolen everything. And Thor's already on his way to get the hammer, so he's like, I will go, I'll get your whatever you need back. He goes, all I need is my hammer. If I can get the hammer, then it won't matter anymore.
So he goes to the site, right? Where the hammer was, they've built like this whole facility over the top of it. Now, have you seen a film called Evolution?
Yeah.
Where, when the meteor lands and like more and more people investigate it and eventually the government get involved and build this whole like building over it. Yeah. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, they do that. And Thor decides to infiltrate it under cover of night. Proper, like, Solid Snake. Like, it is Metal Gear Solid.
It starts that way.
Yeah. And he is quite good at it. And I was just thinking, how the fuck's he being stealthy? Like, this guy, is this Thor not?
And he gets there and then he turns into bloody Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Just fucking smack, like,
he just runs straight for, like, beelines. Like, just takes out everyone there. And then he eventually gets to before he makes a beeline for the hammer, Agent Coulson gets on the phone to someone and he's like, get a gun, And we see his hand go for the gun, and he goes for a bow and arrow, and we're introduced to the coolest, most useful, with all the superpowers ever, if this was a different film. So
Go on.
We get Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, they don't even call him fucking Hawkeye. They refer to him as the Hawk.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Anyway, so we're introduced to Mr. Useless.
But I do find it's pretty sad for him because, like, Black Widow had, like, so much screen time. Like, Hawkeye had, like, nothing. Like, I completely forgot who he was by the time the Avengers came around.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I love Jeremy Renner. Like, I really like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, he's a fine actor, but I mean, the character, it's like,
so
they didn't make
nothing.
I don't feel
he's
like...
He's a 2-second cameo.
Yes, exactly. He's a cameo. It's like, they didn't even make it clear who his character was. He's just some guy with a bow and arrow. He doesn't even shoot any arrows.
It relied entirely on people who knew the comics.
Yes.
He aims at Thor and then doesn't aim at Thor.
Well, I mean, because he's willing to do it, and then Coulson's like, no, wait, hang on, I want to see him make a twat of himself and attempt to pull this hammer and like fail miserably.
And he did. He failed absolutely miserably.
Poor little impotent Thor couldn't perform, couldn't get it up, couldn't get his hammer up.
No, he couldn't get his Odin up.
That was good. I like that. That was good.
Thor is like literally the most powerful Avenger. Mm-hmm. Okay, not including the Hulk, where he's
strongest Avenger.
Yeah, when he is the strongest. In this film, he's weaker than Hawkeye.
For at least 40 minutes of it.
Anyway, so he doesn't get his hammer and he gets arrested because he broke into a military base.
And when nothing happens, like... I don't think Jane Foster gives up hope, but Eric Selvig for certain is just like, he's fucking lunatic. What are you doing? Why are you still chasing after him? He's a mental.
Exactly. But they even do a little bit more research on who he is. And he's like, this is all like mythology and this isn't science. We're scientists and blah, blah, blah. And she makes that stupid line saying, all magic is just science that hasn't been realised.
Yeah, didn't she quote the guy who wrote the Time Machine? And it's just like, he wrote science fiction. and she's just like, he wrote science fiction as a precursor to science facts. And I'm like, that's the worst argument ever.
This is why I don't like Jane Foster.
Oh,
she's a
God.
dumb person.
And like, he's stumped by this. And I'm thinking, Selvig,
You are not stumped by this.
Come on, man.
You can out-logic that.
That is the most retarded thing.
Anyone can out-logic that. You just say, shut up. That's not...
I mean, in the context of the film, it's fine because she's right. But if someone said that to me in real life, I would laugh in their face.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's the most unscientific thing anyone's ever said.
Who's a scientist? Anyway. She decides to go and help Thor because... She's like, we can't leave him alone. We have to go and help him. He's got an incredible body. You don't understand. So Eric's like, all right, I'll go and break him out. Eric Selvig goes back to where the hammer is, where Agent Coulson is, and he has a word with him. So, and he goes, can you just release him? And he goes, yeah. And I'm just thinking, he broke into an officially like government-sanctioned place, beat up government officials, and you're letting him go.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't hold anything over him other than what they're going to do. If S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted them dead or silenced, they could do it. They're like the Illuminati at this point.
But, like, it is an easily case of, like, they could have turned around and said, no, he broke in here. This is an off-sites area. You're not allowed to do that. He could have... anyway, they let him go.
There's a bit in... before they let him go, there's a bit in the same scene that confused me also. And it's... Okay, so Loki shows up and tells Thor Odin's dead.
Yeah, he died of the Odin death.
They foreshadowed earlier in that first... the fight with Thor and the Ice Giants at the beginning. It shows him like projecting an ethereal version of himself. Right. So I thought that... he's not really there. Like, he's doing a Luke Skywalker in episode 8 where he's projecting himself, then he's not really there.
Yeah.
Loki, after he's had a word with Thor and you know, breaks his spirit and is a complete cunt and just says, like, the worst stuff ever to his brother that he's, you know, known his entire life, the bastard, he goes to the hammer and tries to lift it.
Yeah.
Right? And he can't lift it.
Yeah.
Now, can he not lift it because he's not worthy? Or can he not lift it because he's a fucking projection of himself? Or or is he actually there?
He's actually there.
So
he's got access to the Bifrost. He's the only one that's got access to the Bifrost.
Oh no, I understand that, but like, how are the scientists and S.H.I.E.L.D. letting him that? You know, how
because
are they...
he can use magic. I assume he can mind control people. So I reckon he just protected himself as a.
But the mind control thing comes in Avengers, really.
No, but I reckon he's got like limited mind. Like what he did in the Avengers was like full on like mind domination. I reckon he can just project himself as like a government official.
So he was actually there.
He was actually there. He tried to lift the hammer. He couldn't lift the hammer.
So how did he disappear the moment Agent Coulson walked back into the room? Do you remember that bit?
Because he can do that.
Oh, fuck it.
So he comes to collect him, and they both get out, and Thor's pretty defeated.
So they just go get completely smashed at the bar.
Exactly, yeah. And
yeah, well, he's just like, all right, look. So Selvig's like, this is the condition. I've rescued you, but you've got to fuck off and stop messing with the girl's head. You're a mental. I know you're a mental. Anyway, he gets him drunk and he takes her back, and that's the bit where they have the conversation. He has a conversation with Jane over the campfire.
Yeah, and how the Nine Realms works.
Yeah, because he's managed to snag like her journal while he was in a facility.
He kind of explains everything to her, like how he's a god, what the Nine Worlds are, and they kind of grow closer together. Hey, back in was it Valhalla? No. What's it called?
Asgard.
Back in Asgard.
Valhalla?
Yeah.
That's where they go when they die, isn't it?
Yeah, but back in Asgard, all of his friends, the Fantastic Four, decide to...
How did I not think of that?
I don't know how you did. I thought of it now. They all decide to go and find out where he is. So they go to Idris Elba, and...
Yep, Heimdall.
Yeah, and he's like, if you do this, it's treason. And he just force language.
So, yeah, he's like, Loki's in charge now,
I guess it's treason then.
His voice is really weird in this film.
They put like a reverb on it, and
it's like echoey and deeper than it is.
It's the only one they do it in. They do a lot of stuff in this film that they kind of drop in the later films.
Yeah, like the dying of the beard.
The dying of the beard. The dying of Odin. They dropped that until the third one.
Oh, spoilers.
They make an agreement and they manage to get themselves to Earth using the Bifrost.
Yeah, he's Heimdall's pretty happy to.
Yeah, for a second time. It's quite a funny moment. Actually,
he's happy for the second time in this movie to betray his king.
Yeah,
it's the first time he lets him through because he's like curious on how the ice giants got through. Yeah. So he's like, "All right, Thor, I let you through." This time he's going, "Okay, Warriors 4, I'm happy to betray Loki just because I don't like him."
Loki's a right dick. The Fantastic Four that arrive on Earth and go through a town. They find Thor. Everyone just finds each other so easily. There's no looking. They just... It's like, in video games where you have like you need to go and find something, but it's on the minimap where it is.
Yeah, they got the marker that's already pre-set up.
Yeah, it's like that.
I don't know the way, I'll just follow it.
Well, that's what I do in video games. I don't know what's going on. I just follow the marker now. Anyway, so... They find Thor and they have like a massive laugh and everyone's like, holy shit, maybe he's actually onto something.
Yeah.
And
all it took was 4 weirdos in armour.
Loki uses the robot that we saw earlier to stop Thor from coming back to Asgard.
Yeah.
Because he's realised that the Fantastic Four have set off.
I like it. I like that bit because, bear in mind, this is pre-Avengers, so there's no crossover yet. They've done a few references. And it arrives, and it's a giant metal man, and rightly so, Agent Coulson and a bunch of other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are like, is that one of Stark's?
And he's like, Stark never tells us anything.
Yeah.
And then his face opens up, and they're like, okay, we'll be Stark.
It opens its whole face up and is like, shoot the whoop, I'm firing my laser.
Yeah.
And
it does the whole Terminator thing, and Thor and his merry men see the explosions and are like, right, we need to go and help. Thor decides that he won't be able to fight it because he's not strong enough, and he's like, right, you guys go fight him.
The Warriors 4 haplessly slap their hands against this metal thing.
They are useless.
They're just like, yeah, just like complete like warrior fodder, and it's hilarious.
These are guys who are meant to be really good fighters as well, and they're not.
This is from Asgard, and it's one of Odin's tools. You would have thought that they would have seen it more, or maybe known a weakness or anything.
Yeah, or just how to shut it down. But no, they're compared like 4 Asgardian warriors who are meant to be like the best in the land, but not obviously compared to Thor, are just decimated by this robot.
So it gets to the point where Thor's like, right, the only way around this is that the whole point is here is because it wants me dead. I'll just sacrifice myself and hopefully it'll fuck off.
Which he does. He sacrifices himself.
Yeah, he sort of sweet talks Loki a little bit, makes him feel a bit bad, I guess. He's just like, oh, I love you, and
whatever I did to you, I'm sorry that you had to do this, but do what you got to do and just leave these innocent people alone because they don't really deserve any of it.
So instead of incinerating him, the robot just backhands him, and he I don't know, and then Thor dies. He dies for a straight 20 seconds. It's a very slow. It's a lot slower than I remember. He dies very slowly and stays dead for quite a substantial amount of time.
But because he sacrificed himself, the hammer awakens.
Here's what I love about this scene, because it makes no sense. literally in this scene, you're getting the voiceover from Odin from what he said earlier, where he talked to the hammer before he threw it out into the abyss. And he's just like, the one who holds this hammer shall, it will be the one that's worthy. But Thor wasn't holding the hammer.
Yeah.
Thor just died. So what? Thor's dead body really just wanted to be worthy, and the hammer flew to him.
Well, was it a case of, I don't know, that this actually doesn't, because it's Thor that controls the hammer. He's the one that recalls it and everything.
But Odin says, the one who holds this hammer. He says those words.
I don't know. I guess they didn't want to just get him to go and pick up the hammer.
Anyway,
he does. For whatever reason, the hammer...
It flies over and poof, it's hammer time. He's got the hammer and he's finally got his costume back. And like everyone's just like, well,
fuck me.
I owe you 20 quid.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus, he's actually a god.
He gets his... I do like his costume. The shoulders are a bit...
weird.
And they're quite prominent, but I like it. I think it suits him.
Yeah, it's like I said, design perfect.
The big cape and the armor with the 6 nipples on the front.
Yeah. So this he fights the machine and just...
He puts him in like a weird sort of hurricane made of lightning.
Yeah, and the CGI is just terrible.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, all the CGI in the film is actually pretty bad. You know how I said Iron Man holds up? Thor does not.
Yeah, and neither did Hulk. Actually, I think Hulk CGI was better than this.
I do as well.
Yeah.
I reckon...
And that's saying something from me.
I reckon they blew all their budget doing that establishing shot of...
Asgard.
Yep. Because that looked nice, and then everything else looked terrible. Anyway, so he destroys the robot, and he's like to Jane, I need to go back to my home now.
And Heimdall helps him back.
Yeah.
There was a point where like Loki like froze him in ice, but Heimdall's just determination unfroze the ice.
He just broke out from sheer will of whatever. It was weird. Anyway.
He helps Thor and everyone else get back, and at this point, Loki has like...
He invited all the giants in, including Laufey, the king of giants, to go and kill Odin. And just as he's about to kill Odin, Loki kills Laufey, and he's like...
Quite quick, quite like without any remorse. And Laufey is his actual dad.
Yeah.
Laufey was his real father, because as a baby ice midget, Loki was abandoned.
Yeah.
But he knows that, right? Or did he not know that?
He knew that because Odin told him. Maybe he just did it just to invite him in there so he could kill him, because I think his whole idea of doing it was just to show his dad that he could orchestrate all of it.
And then he proceeds with a plan to just completely genocide Jotunheim.
Yeah, Thor turns up in the bedroom, in Odin room, and Loki blasts him out of Odin room into Odin sky, and Odin falls. And Loki goes after him.
He gets to the end, he gets to the Bifrost.
And he uses his saber, and his idea is he's going to overload all the power of the Bifrost into Jotunheim to destroy it.
Yeah, like he turns it into a fucking Death Star.
Essentially, yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to destroy this planet.
And Thor's like, you can't just commit genocide.
I love this bit because, at the beginning of the movie, he's a hot-headed dickhead who wants to just kill. And then Loki's like, why are you different? Why are you soft? And he goes, I've changed. And I'm like, this has happened over like the course of a weekend.
Yeah, like no one changes. It takes months and months.
Like his personality just like fundamentally altered.
Yeah.
Because of a human woman.
Basically, he's like, well, you can't stop it anyway. It's events are in motion. There's nothing you can do. You've got all this power, all this strength, and you can't do fuck all. And what?
Fuck all. He knocks Loki on his ass, and then he puts the hammer on his chest.
Yeah, he just drops the hammer on his chest so he can't get up.
And he's like, it's quite clever actually. I didn't think it's like because if it's
he does it all the time though. It's
you
like,
can't.
Hold
this is the first time he's done this.
Yeah.
In the MCU, and he puts it on him, and then he's standing at the edge of the bridge. Loki's there, hammer on his chest, and he decides what he's going to do. He whips back the hammer, takes it again, and starts smashing this rainbow bridge.
And he destroys the bridge, which stops this.
Well, the Bifrost just like falls off the edge of the world.
I guess, yeah. And
yeah. He's never going to see Jane Foster again until the next year when, he's back on Earth in the Avengers. And that's basically the end of it. It's quite a melancholy ending, and it's just, it ends on like a sad note, I guess.
So basically, they're hanging on the edge of the bridge, and Loki commits suicide, I guess. He just falls into the effort.
Yeah, he says, Odin says something to him that really disheartens him, and he just thinks, oh, well, fuck it, and let's go. And he falls into space, and we never see him again.
Yeah.
And then, it just sort of ends with Jane Foster. I think her.
It states that Jane Foster's like looking for him.
Yeah, I think they get like funding from Shield now because Thor agreed that so long as they give all their stuff back, he'll be an ally to them.
Even though he can't return back for the time being.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the final credit scene, Eric going into the basement to meet Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, so in the Shield headquarters, Eric Selvig, Jane Foster's scientist friend, meets Nick Fury, and he introduces him to a blue cube.
Yeah, this is the Tesseract.
Features quite prominently in the next movie that we're going to talk about for the MCU, Captain America.
Yeah.
That's about it, really.
Yeah. That's Thor. Honestly, it was boring as hell.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, for like the most of it, nothing happens. I spent literally an hour and a half just waiting for him to get his hammer back because he gives a shit about hammerless Thor.
You could say the movie was so boring, it put you to Odin sleep. Yeah.
Oh, the Odin dig.